Welcome back to the Authentically Attuned podcast. I am your host. My name is Esther, and in this episode, we are going to be talking about a few different things. We're going to be talking about the Haitian community, specifically mean girls within the Haitian community, and how this affects other women who grow up in this community with this kind of influence. And maybe some other things. I'll probably throw in some other things that I've been thinking about related to this as well in this episode. But that is the main topic. I'm basically going to be venting about Haitian mean girls. Also, I am so sorry if you can hear my fan in the background. It's on high because it is very hot right now. We're in the thick of summer. Summer is summering. So I want to be comfortable while I talk about this, and I don't want to turn off my fan. So I'm sorry if you can hear it in the background. Okay, so let's get started. For a lot of us listening, if you are a woman listening to this episode right now, I'm sure that you know, just like I know, that the Mean Girls movie wasn't just a movie plot. This is a very real reality for a lot of us growing up. And what's even scarier is that this type of culture doesn't actually end after high school. I've seen it in my Haitian family. I've seen it in my aunties, my cousins, my friends, even within my own relationship with my older sister. And this type of dynamic, this mean girl bullying dynamic, follows women into their marriage. It follows them into motherhood, everything. It becomes something that can take over a woman's life. And for me personally, I have been so affected by this. Like I've said, within my own family and my friendships, I've experienced a lot of bullying. Some of it has been passive aggressive, but later in life, a lot of it became more aggressive. And I've been wanting to record this episode in particular for a long time. Since January of this year, I've wanted to talk about this, but I myself have been so affected by it, like mentally. This bullying that I've experienced my whole life from women so much older than me, as well as women my own age, has taken such a toll on my mental health that I knew that if I came on here and talked about it before I regulated my own system, I would have been on here like...
You're insane. You're in pain. I can tell by what you're saying, but...
My turn. Why so serious, baby? Why do you look so surprised after you drove me crazy? You forgot that I was dangerous and even stronger than before. You forgot that you took my whole life, so now you owe me yours. You forgot about that night? Well, I have it burned inside my brain. I'm stuck inside an asylum, but tonight I will escape. You forgot to carry shame. You forgot that I'm insane. You forgot that karma's coming and she has my fucking name.
Crashing out, basically. So instead, I decided to give myself a chance to really think and process and learn more about like the root of this. Like, why are some women like this? Where does this come from? So that I could hopefully gain some sympathy. And I'm not saying that I'm fully sympathetic to what they're going through or that I fully understand. I really don't think I could ever fully understand. So all I can do is speak from my experience as someone who has been exposed to people and women who behave like this. All I can do is talk about how it feels from the perspective of someone who has just been, I would say, emotionally abused by these types of women. I'm actually working on an episode right now. I'm in the editing process working on an episode about DL women. That's coming out soon. Stay tuned for that, where I talk a little bit more about the signs and the traits that these women show. But right now in this episode, I want to focus more on my experience. And since I am speaking from my experience, I can only speak from the Haitian community experience. So I'm probably going to have that in the title somewhere, but I'm speaking more so from a Haitian woman who grew up in North America. So although I was born in Haiti, I left when I was 4. My family moved to America. So I mainly grew up experiencing this in the US and in Canada, but I'm going to be speaking most of my experience, I grew up in the church. So a lot of it's going to be talking about the church culture. And what inspired this episode, truly, what finally gave me the motivation to start speaking about this from my personal experience is I watched a video 2 days ago. I don't remember the title, but I'm gonna insert a picture of the thumbnail right now. And this creator, I've seen a few of her videos. I love her content. She talks a lot about the patriarchy and dynamics of women and the psychology behind men's motivations and dating and sex and things like that. So I really love her content. You should check out her channel. This video in particular that she posted triggered the hell out of me. Okay, watching it made me feel like mad all over again, but in a good way, because I, again, have been trying not to feel so much anger towards women, toxic women. But watching this video reminded me of the fact that I'm angry for a reason, because this type of stuff, this type of behavior is really damaging, not just to me, but to all women who are exposed to it, and men even too, children. Everyone is affected by this type of behavior. So in this video, the creator is talking about a show called The Hunting Wives, I believe. I've never watched the show. I've honestly never even heard about it until this video. But she is talking about how the dynamics in that show are so real and happen in real life. And she's breaking down basically how there's this hierarchy within female friendship groups. And a lot of it is based off of women's connection and relation to powerful men, and things like mental warfare, basically psychological warfare. And although the women in this show are all white women, and the creator of this video was a white woman, and she talks about her experience in these groups and these circles from a perspective of a woman growing up in white circles, I realized that it's basically identical to my experience growing up in the Haitian community around these women. And that truly inspired me to talk about this, because I don't see much content talking about this specifically from the perspective of a Black woman, a Caribbean woman, a Haitian woman, and especially not within communities that are religious. So like Haitian church communities. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today. Okay, so in my experience, like I'm sure is true for a lot of women, I started noticing this very young. And this is kind of a random, I don't know if it's random, but it's like, for me, still an experience that I can't describe, but I know that other women who have experienced this may understand what I'm saying. So one of the first experiences, the earliest experiences of this type of like women bullying dynamic I've ever had in my life started in the home. And it started with me at times when I was a child feeling like my sister and my mom were excluding me from this like women's club. And so for example, I remember very early on I didn't know what a period was, obviously, when I was a child. So I didn't know that's what was going on. But there were times where my mom and my sister would be like sneaking around, talking, whispering, and they'd be in the bathroom whispering. And I'd try to like, peek in or knock and come in the bathroom, and they would get really angry and like, basically be talking about me and the fact that I'm like so nosy and like trying to like get into their business. But I'm just curious as to what's going on. Like, I wanted to know what was happening, but I felt more like a nuisance, or like I wasn't welcomed into that club. And this kind of went on for a little while, like early years. I kind of felt like I saw my sister. It was strange, although she was only 6 years older than me. It was like sometimes I saw her like my mom's like bestie, and then sometimes like my mom would then start treating her like she's a child all of a sudden again. So that was such a strange experience for me that shockingly continued on outside of the home too. I started noticing this dynamic in other friendships and, my experiences, not just my friendships, but noticing this pattern in other friendship groups and women as well. Like there was always one of the girls that was like there was always a girl that was like the alpha, the head of the group. And then there was a girl that was like in the middle, and then there was the one that was trying really hard to be a part of and stay a part of the group. I think that's why when we say like in a trio, it's always, it's obvious to see the duo, because the duo is always the alpha girl and then the girl who's like, basically studying to become the alpha's like replacement or apprentice or whatever. So this continued on throughout high school, me seeing this pattern, me even being a part of this myself multiple times in multiple different friend groups. And I think I normalized it when I was younger as this is what it means to be a woman. And I saw it as like, well, men have their own hierarchy like this, and this is how women operate, but like we just can't say the rules out loud. And that's just normal because I picked it up. No one ever told me this stuff. I just kind of picked it up from watching the women around me be complete bitches. I was like, okay, I started to learn certain things. And I felt like, okay, the goal is to be the alpha of a friendship group, or to be the alpha female, like period, in any environment. In your home, you're the queen of the castle, things like that. And I was even in my own trio. I was in 2 trios, friendship groups, actually, one in middle school and one in high school. And I will eventually post story times about these experiences because it's very interesting how consistent these behaviors have been throughout my life. But it wasn't until my high school trio that I really started understanding that I don't want to fight to become the alpha female of a trio. I started realizing like I already, like the fact that I can see through this bullshit kind of makes me understand that I'm above this, but I want to be friends with women. Like I want to have that like sleepover, slumber party kind of friendship where, it's us against the world, girls, like what's that show with the mermaids? Like those type of friendships and Winx Club. So I played along because I thought that's what you were supposed to do. So it wasn't until when my personal close friendship groups, including like my sister and her friends, because I made friends with a lot of her girlfriends too, since I spent a lot of time with my sister, it wasn't until they all started getting into the stage of being in committed relationships that things really started to amplify. And I realized there was such a big, major pressure in the church community for women to get married. Like by the time you're 20, 21, it's almost like they completely switch and become this person. Because before that, it's like, oh yeah, men, no one cares, whatever. Like, like it's like we didn't really prioritize men in a certain way, but then as soon as they got into their first committed relationships, like serious relationships, instantly things changed. They changed, everything changed. And I had a hard time processing this, especially for my older sister. When she got into her relationship with her now husband, I felt basically excluded, completely forgotten. And I felt like I had to insert myself a lot to even be like, a part of her life. And it even got to a point where at the time he was her boyfriend, but now husband, sat me down one time when I was hanging out with the three of them, because I would do that a lot, asked to go where they're going so I could spend time with my sister. But he told me basically like, yeah, well, we're both a part of her life now. We're both important parts of her life. So like we're gonna have to share her, kind of thing. And so it's gonna be the three of us. I was like, okay, understood. And that's how it was for a while. And this is a long story, and I'm not going to talk about it all in this podcast, but I will do separate videos talking about how my sister and I's relationship basically ended. I will do more videos talking about that. But through the years, I realized it just got worse. And everyone around her got married. All of our friends from the church were now married. She had this same friend, the mother of her godson, was like basically part of the committee along with my mom, pressuring her to get married. And then, so she got married. And I realize now that there is such a big significance to this. Like, once a woman who hasn't fully processed certain traumas gets into a relationship with a man who also hasn't done that, it completely changes the psychology of that woman, in my experience. Because it wasn't just her, but I experienced this also with her, close friend, her godson's mother, who I had become very close friends with as well. And I've seen it just from the outside looking in from a lot of women in the Haitian church community. Once they become wives, it's like they feel this euphoric rush of ego. I don't even know. But then it becomes like they feel like they are better than other women, or have some sort of value that other women do not have. And I'll give you two examples of this in the Haitian church community. So the Haitian church that I went to, I won't name names, but one of the pastor's daughters was getting married, and she was marrying a man that was younger than her. And the conversation around this in the women's community was so toxic. I felt disgusting even being a part of it. That era in my life is what really made me realize I do not like the gossiping part of this community. Like, it is so disgusting. And it confirmed for me for sure that even the people that I'm talking to, like there's one woman in particular, I won't say who, but she talked a lot about this woman and their marriage. And it made me sick, because I realized, I'm like, this is so terrible, because I like this girl. I didn't personally have any issues with her. I thought she was, kind every time I've met her and things like that. So it just made me sick that all these women that I knew who talked about her like this, they would smile in her face and talk to her as well, just because she's a pastor's daughter. They all attend her father's church. It was so weird. And this woman who would gossip about this also let me know that there's apparently a group chat with other prominent women in the church and they titled it The Royal Wedding, the group chat. And they were all just talking like mad about this girl and the fact that she's marrying a man younger than her. And it broke my heart, because I realized all of these same women are married to men who are on the same level as her husband, if not beneath him. So it just made me sick. And that's something that till this day, I hate the fact that I was even a part of. And now, because, okay, again, I was not a part of the group chat. I now realize if you're listening to someone gossiping, as a woman, whether or not you're the person that's like, oh, you shouldn't talk about her like that, or I like her, what's wrong with her? It just does. You should not be in that environment because it will affect your spirit. And you should also realize, what I accept is any woman who's sitting there bad mouthing another woman to you is most likely bad mouthing you to someone else in the same way. Because the issue is, women like this think that, oh, you're just venting how you feel to your girlfriend and we should keep it private. And it's like toxic. And another thing that started happening in this community is that the women who were married, there was like, a group of, let's say, like 5 to 10 women in the church who now were married. And they would throw these like, weekly events or certain date nights or married couple nights, parties at each other's houses, dinners or whatever. And there was one woman in particular who, she was with her man for like 10 years. They had kids together, but they were not married. But, they were obviously a family. And they would not invite her to these events. And the one woman in particular who gossips a lot was, she was married. And she would go to these events, and she was also really good friends with the girl who was not married and wasn't invited to these events. I've hung out with the both of them together. Yeah, she was the one telling me about this, and I just felt so bad for the woman who wasn't married, because I'm like, these are all people now who are in their 30s. They're mothers, most of them too. And I was like, the way that they are excluding her and making it seem like they're better than her because they have a ring, even though all of their husbands are also trash, I couldn't unsee it. I was like, it's like I'm imagining a room of little girls, 13, 14-year-old girls dressed up as women in high heels and makeup. Like I could not, that's the image that I saw in my mind. But that's the reality. These were the women who were supposed to be my, role models and confidants and inspirations, or even forget inspiration. I would say even just examples of what it's like to be a woman, what it will be like to be a wife, what it will be like to be a mother. I lost all faith and respect in the Haitian church community women around that time. And that was probably around 2017, 2018. And the reason I lost my respect for the women in that environment around that time is because I realized that for them, because I think at first I really did think women were dressing up and, trying to appeal to men and marry men because they wanted to love men and they wanted to be wives and mothers. And around that time, I realized, no, most of the women around me are striving to get married and basically trap men into marriages because they want that title so that they can feel better than other women and so that they can honestly have something to complain about. I don't know how else to put it, but I think there is this culture of wanting to gain men's attention to brag about it, but in the way that you resent it. So you're complaining about it. That's another thing I experienced a lot of. Just a lot of when you're friends with a woman like this, all you hear about is the negative things about her marriage and her relationship. She never really says positive things about her partner. Even when he does positive things, good things for her, she doesn't really show excitement for it and things like that. And I think at first I thought this was me being naive, I guess. I thought they just didn't know how to express their emotions. They felt good inside and they just didn't want to show it and things like that. And it wasn't until much later that I realized, no, I truly just don't think they feel grateful for anything. I think they feel entitled and like as you should type of feelings toward things. And I just started realizing every time they talked about their men to me, it was oh my God, why are you even with him? It sounds like you're miserable, you're a captive, you're in prison, girl. Should I call the police? Do you need help? But they claimed they love them, so I accepted that. And later I realized, no, I think they are all repeating the same patterns as their mothers, where even though we're not in Haiti anymore, we're like, we have equal opportunities. A lot of these women have jobs, really good jobs. It's like they still feel like they need to be with a man for survival just so he can pay their rent. And like, I don't know if it's because they don't want to have to be creative and ambitious to try to put themselves out there and even find better men. I don't know if it's because they don't want to better themselves. I really don't know what it is. But I've noticed that it seems like the attitude that they have is they just put up with men so that they can have a place to stay and so that they can have babies with the same guy. Like, and it's like a respectability politics thing in the Haitian church community. These women stay with men and get with men just so they don't have a baby father, multiple baby fathers, or they don't have a divorce, and they have a place to live and a person to tell people like, oh yeah, he pays my bills. I don't know. And the issue is not just that these women are mean and bullies. What I've realized is that they will stop at nothing to make everyone unhappy just because they are unhappy. And I used to hear things like this about, bitter women. They even talk about it in the Bible, like women who nag. I don't know what that verse is. Don't quote me, but it's something like, it's better to like live under a bridge than to like live in a house with a woman that nags. Something like that. It's in Proverbs, I think. But anyways, I've heard this and I never really understood it until going through everything I've been through and then everything I went through with my ex. And then looking back of the things that I used to hear from my sister's relationship. One good example of how I realized, like, yeah, women like this truly, they're unhappy inside. So they will find any reason to cause a problem with someone else. There's many more examples, but one very quick, clear one for me was in the beginning of my sister's marriage with her now husband. Like, throughout her entire relationship, I was like the person she ran to complain about him most often, because I used to think it was because she trusted me the most, but now I realize, no, it's just because she felt like I was least likely to tell her business. And that's only because I was her sister, because of all of these family politics in the Haitian community. But anyways, in the beginning, when they moved in together, one issue they would fight about a lot, like she would call me about this, is like he would not put the sponge back in the sponge holder that she has in the sink. And for me at the time, I actually thought this was reasonable. I was upset at him because I'm like, oh my God, it's a simple thing. Just put the sponge back in the sponge holder and you won't have to deal with her fighting with you. But now, being who I am now and having, had to face my own issues the way I have and learning what's my issue and what's someone else's issue, I now see that this is her inability to just be at peace. It's like, no, like she must ruin her own day and everyone else's, like, constantly. And this is not rare. I know this is such a, dumb example, and it might seem like, what are you trying to say to some people? But I know those women who get it, you get it, and you understand what I'm talking about, because I listened to so many arguments about this sponge that I now realize it didn't change. This is something that continuously happened with her about different things all the time. And it's not just her. It's her godson's mother, where, like, yes, constant little things, and other environments like my aunt's relationships, my cousin's relationships, just certain dumb things like that. And one of the things that truly deteriorated our relationship, me and my sister, is again, I can't get into it in this episode. I will in a later episode. But basically, at one point, she had to move back in with my mother while me and my ex were living together because we were engaged. That's actually something I have not spoken about at all on these podcast episodes. And I think it's because it's something I like to repress still. But we were engaged. And so she moved back in with my mom while he was living with us. And she started nitpicking at me heavily. And this was the beginning of me starting to realize maybe my sister is a mean girl. So like I said, I've grown up around women like this my whole life. My aunts on my father's side are basically the stepsisters from Cinderella, and my mom's sisters had treated her like she was Cinderella. I have some cousins that I've met in my older years that I realize are following in their mother's footsteps. So I've grown up around this stuff. And even my own sister, I did notice certain things about her from when I was at least in high school. But I think I gave them all the benefit of the doubt by saying that, I feel like these are defense mechanisms. This is just tough love. Side note, this is why I get so triggered when people say that to me. Oh, they're just tough love, tough love. I'm like, you know what? No, I'm not going to get into that. But basically, that's what I used to think too. Yes, these are just women who show tough love. They don't know how to express their emotions genuinely, but deep down, they feel that mushy-gushy caring stuff, right? Wrong. I didn't realize this until after my sister moved back in. Her and my mother joined forces to basically do everything they can to sabotage my relationship with my ex. And yes, I know what you're probably thinking. Well, Esther, why does that matter since he was DL and physically abusive and you broke up with him anyways? You're right. All of those things are true. But why this still matters to me is because they tried to sabotage my relationship. What if all those things didn't end up being true? They still tried to sabotage my relationship. I was very happy and very capable of taking care of myself within the relationship that I, as an adult, decided to get into, which is why once I saw that it was not healthy for me, I did leave. So that brings us back to they tried to sabotage my relationship. That was the last eye-opener I needed to see that the point is seeing me happy and the possibility that this isn't what they think it is. They just could not sit back and let that be a possibility. They needed to do something to make sure this ends the way that they see it ending. And I was confirmed that not only are these women absolutely batshit insane, but I want nothing to do with either one of them, especially not emotionally. It was at that point that I understood when I do get married, all these things, I do not want them to know. I don't want them to be at my wedding. I understood that this is not about me. This is about their inability to be around other people who they feel like are at a better place emotionally than them. Because they're going to do everything in their power to try to test that and try to make you prove that you are more emotionally stable than they are. And I don't got time for that. So this is why this year, actually, technically since January of last year, it's been about almost 2 years where I have cut off all of these toxic women out of my life. And I say it's been about almost 2 years because last summer I did have 2 or 3 women that I was still in contact with heavily that I ended up realizing toxic. I won't get too much into that right now, but I now have 2 women that I'm friends with that are not related to me, and I love them dearly. They know who they are. I'm not gonna name drop, but I realized that cutting these other toxic women out of my life was the best decision I've ever made, because it has helped me come to realize I'm not sensitive, I'm not crazy. There are other women out there like me who can take care of themselves and protect themselves, but still be open, still be soft, still be genuine, and not afraid of what other women and what men think of them. I don't try to play the part of a woman to gain a man's sympathy or his protection or his money. I just am a woman. And those things come naturally. And there are other women like that out there. So I'm so glad that I have taken the time to remove these type of women from my life. I'll be honest and fully transparent though, I'm still heavily in contact with my mom. And that's a whole nother episode that I can do about my, mother wound and my relationship with that and healing that. I'm still in the thick of doing that, like healing that relationship. So I can talk about it though. So let me know in the comments if you want to hear about my relationship and my journey with my mother wound so far. But yeah, cutting out these type of toxic women from my life has truly changed me and has made me into the woman that I am today. Like, I am still confident. Like, there are certain things I learned from them that I will never forget and that I do feel like is valuable. I think, there are certain parts of being a stone cold bitch that can help you in life. So I'm grateful for all of those negative experiences, because at the very least I've learned how to, like, if I have to drag someone for filth, if I need to, when I come across women who try to play this, bitchy cat game, cat fight, I can hold my ground in any type of psychological warfare situation because of them. But thankfully, I don't need to do that to get attention from men. I don't need to do that. I don't need to compete with women for male attention. I don't need to compete with women that I want to be friends with so that I can, like, have a emotionally stable experience around them. Like, no. I definitely have conquered my ego. So, yeah. Thank God. So I'm going to end it here. I hope that whoever this is meant for, that it reaches you. And just know that if you're at the place where you're not ready to cut off these women, that's fine. Just understand that you're not like them. You have to embrace this feeling inside, because that's something I ignored for a long time. I felt like I was different from them, and that made me feel like there was something wrong with me. Like I was too sensitive, I was weak, I needed to be stronger because I'm not like them. That's not true. You do not have to listen to that voice, and it's okay to not want to be that way. And if you have found the strength to walk away, I'm so happy and I'm so proud of you. And I know that it's lonely. I know that there is a lot of temptation to, basically abandon your morals when it comes to this and try to reconcile with women like this. But I will say this to you, because this is what I say to myself. The biggest sign of change from someone like this would be them reaching out to you, whether that is to reconcile or just to restart. That would be the biggest sign, especially if you have tried everything in your power to, express yourself and to try to, and you haven't done anything to them that would, warrant those type of behaviors from them. Please trust me, girly. I've thought and thought and thought and thought. I'm still thinking, but I've, realized this, at least, that would be the biggest sign of change. And if they can't even do that, it's not worth it to put yourself in the position to be abused by them again. So yeah, thank you so much for listening. If you made it this far, you are the realest one, and I appreciate you so much. I hope that you enjoyed this video, or at the very least, it gave you something to think about, and I cannot wait to speak to you in my next episode. Bye.